ago, John Lucas wore a Baylor uniform and led the Bears to a victory here at Oklahoma State. Today, he's a Cowboy leading his new team against old friends in Stillwater. We welcome you to Gallagher-Iba Arena in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Today, the front-running Oklahoma State Cowboys play host to the Bears of Baylor. This is how things were shaping up as we head into play today in the Big 12 Conference. Oklahoma State, the preseason #5 pick in the league, sits atop the league standings, tied with Texas. Meanwhile, Baylor's feeling pretty good about themselves with 2 conference wins. They're in 11th place. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Dolman along with Paul Splittorf. It's great to have you with us today in Stillwater. You know, Paul, this is a critical game for Oklahoma State. They're coming off of a monster win on Monday night over Kansas. They've got Oklahoma coming up next Monday. They got to keep it rolling against Baylor.
Yeah, really do. They played their best basketball of the season over the last 2 weeks, winning on the road and again here this last week against Kansas. They stumbled against Baylor a year ago. Baylor came in here and won an important ball game. Cowboys want to make sure they walk out of here with a win today before they head to Norman on Monday.
Well, a key reason why Oklahoma State is on a roll, because John Lucas is on a roll. Lucas has averaged better than 20 points in each of his last 3 games, and he had a monster game against KU on Monday night, scoring 21 points on 7 of 9 shooting. He's the reigning conference player of the week and a front runner for player of the year. Welcome back to Gallagher-Iba Arena in Stillwater. Let's take a look at the starting lineups for this one. Harvey Thomas and Terrence Thomas, a pair of forwards for Baylor, both averaging in double figures. For Oklahoma State, Ivan McFarlin, Joey Graham, John Lucas, Bobbick, and Allen. Oklahoma State goes without saying is a much deeper ball club. They can go 8, 9, even 10 deep if they have to. Baylor lining it up with just 6 scholarship players. And we're going to have a re-jump on the opening tap. It's Harvey Marshall and Joey Graham for Oklahoma State, and Baylor saves it. No, he does not. Steps on the out-of-bound line. It'll be Baylor basketball. The head coach of the Baylor Bears in his first season is Scott Drew, 7-15 in his first year on the bench, 27-26 in his second year overall as a head coach. His counterpart is Eddie Sutton. We'll tell you about him in just a moment.
Well, there should be a battle of effort here this afternoon. Who's going to be able to play their type of ball game? Baylor would like to stretch their possessions, limit the possessions throughout the course of the day. Oklahoma State would like to get it up and down, go the full 94 feet.
Oklahoma State with an early steal. Ahead it goes to Ivan McFarlin, who can't control the basketball, and we've got a whistle, and we've got ourselves a foul, and that's going to go against OSU. First personal, first team, and there's the head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Don't think we need to introduce you to Eddie Sutton, one of the legends in the game. 742 wins, 3rd winningest coach active right now. The 742 wins, 10th most all time.
Oklahoma State has dominated this series, having won 11 out of their last 12, but as you mentioned earlier, lost this ball game on this floor last year to Baylor. Baylor continues to play hard and scrap through a losing season, but their fans have really taken to them simply because of the attitude and efforts of their players.
Great pass inside to Carl Marshall, who scores off the glass, and the Bears get the first 2 points of the game. Now, we talk a lot about the fact that Baylor won here a year ago, a thrilling ball game, 74-72. Lost in that is that last year in Waco, these 2 teams had a pretty tough ball game that went into overtime, won by Oklahoma State. Going off the glass and scoring the first 2 points of the game for Oklahoma State is Tony Allen, the senior from Chicago.
One of the real tests for the Cowboys here this afternoon is the patience that they have on defense, because they're going to have to stay in that defensive stance for a long time unless they can come up with steals here today. We saw them fall asleep the last possession that Baylor had, a little backdoor cut. They end up with a layup. That'll happen all afternoon long if the Cowboys don't keep their focus.
And that shot is missed by Terrence Thomas, and the rebound to Daniel Bobbick. Here's John Lucas. Boy, what a week he's had, couple of weeks he's had. Last 8 games, in fact, averaging 19 points a contest, 18 in conference play. He's just gotten better and better as league play has gone on.
Seems to be getting more comfortable here in the Oklahoma State system. Has all kinds of experience, but really settling in. In fact, he's played so well and his team has done so well. I think you put his name down in the competition for Player of the Year in the Big 12 Conference.
We've got ourselves a foul on Baylor. That's on Tommy Swanson, his first personal foul. And at the line to shoot a pair is Joey Graham. Oklahoma State leads the all-time series between these two clubs, 39 wins against just 12 losses. They've dominated here in Stillwater, 16 wins and 18 tries against the Bears. But again, they did have two very close games a year ago. And the first shot by Graham is up and in, a 70% foul shooter on the year. He's got a twin brother, Steven, who also plays for Oklahoma State, and we'll see him as the game progresses. 4-2 Cowboys as we open up play 2 minutes in Stillwater.
Baylor wants to hang around in this ball game as long as they can. They know it's going to be a tough assignment to come out of here with a win this afternoon, but they want to play their game. If they can play their style, they've got a chance.
Great rebound up by Swanson, but he missed the putback.
And if you're going to win on the road, you've got to be able to hit the easy shots like that. Probably a little surprised he was uncovered inside. Oh, how about that?
Oh, what a move by Joey Graham. 4 points in the game for Joey.
You talk about guys coming on for Oklahoma State. Joey Graham, one of those players, his first year in the program, been in double figures 4 out of their last 5 ball games.
Swanson has a tough time trying to get that shot off, and he comes up short. Very quick shots in the last couple of possessions for Baylor. And there's contact as Tony Allen flies in. That foul is going to go against Baylor, and that's going to be on Swanson, his second personal foul. The one thing that Baylor can ill afford to do is get into foul trouble.
Well, you talk about shots coming in early for Baylor because they've gotten good shots, but Graham creating his shot right there. There's a guy who can either catch it on the low blocks or get it out in the mid-range area and put it on the floor.
Tommy Swanson with 2 personal fouls now, and fouls have been a bit of a problem for him. He's fouled out in 4 of the Bears' last 10 games 5 times all year. Here's Tony Allen to the free throw line for the Cowboys, and that one rolls home for him. Oklahoma State is a team hitting 67% of its foul shots. Allen bringing that number down just a bit at 63%. Here's R.T. Gwynn coming in for Baylor. He's the one guy that can come in for Scott Drew, who has a lot of experience. He's been a starter and now has settled into the 6-man role. Both foul shots are good. Oklahoma State has opened up a 6-point lead. This is something they did to Kansas on Monday night. They opened up a 9-point lead in the first 3 minutes of the game and never looked back.
Oklahoma State hit 9 of their first 10 shots in that ball game, 5 for 5 from three-point land. And by the time you got 3 minutes into the game, all 5 starters had scored. In fact, all 5 starters scored in double figures that night.
80-60 was the final. R.T. Gwynn's pass is intercepted by Allen. Now it's a foot race, and Allen is going to win it. Dunks it in, draws a foul. He's got a chance for a 3-point play, and this is a terrific start for Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State is 3rd in the conference in steals this year. They average better than 9 per ball game. Tony Allen, one of their best athletes, if not their quickest. Takes it the length of the floor, has the strong finish. Oklahoma State likes to get into the passing lanes. They'll run through those passing lanes to get their steals. Steal converted right there.
Allen missed the free throw. Harvey Thomas with the rebound. Oklahoma State forces 17 turnovers a game, averaging 21 points a contest off of opponent turnovers.
Baylor was beaten by Texas in midweek, but had just 9 turnovers in that ballgame. Scott Drew talking before the start of today's game. They are concerned about the speed and quickness of Oklahoma State on the perimeter, which is really their strength, the athletic ability that they have out there. But having played Texas in midweek might help them for this afternoon's game.
5 seconds to shoot for Baylor. This is the kind of possessions they'd like to have.
Like to have a little better shot. Like to have a little better shot at the end of it, and hopefully points when they get there.
Baylor now 1 for 6 from the floor. They scored the first 2 points of the ball game, but have been shut out ever since. Oklahoma State is on a 10-0 run.
Talk about things that separate the Cowboys from some of the other teams in the league. It's how they have played on the road this year. They have been very efficient. Their veteran leadership has paid off for them. 4-1 on road games. They're down by 16 to K-State in 1. Oklahoma State had them down last weekend, 12-4 early on. They came back to win that game.
Daniel Bobek with the 3, a 49% shooter from behind the arc. He gives the Cowboys a monster lead to begin this ball game. 13-2 is the score as Scott Drew uses a timeout. Everybody's getting into the act for Oklahoma State.
Bobek working behind that zone defense, popping out. You've got to be able to identify the shooters. He's the best long-range threat for the Cowboys. Anytime he catches the ball on the perimeter, Baylor wants to have a hand in his face.
Oklahoma State leads it by 11. This is a club that leads the conference and the nation in field goal shooting at 52%. I think Eddie Sutton coming into this game and the rest of his staff would look at this as a dangerous game because they did have the terrific performance on Monday night. You fear a bit of a letdown. You've got Oklahoma coming up as your next ball game. But I talked to him yesterday, and to a man, the staff said, you know what, we've had enough time to digest the Kansas win. And we now have our players focused on this game. And we know we've got Oklahoma around the corner, but just want to play a solid game today against Baylor, and they've come out better than solid.
One of the real strengths of the Cowboys this year is the veteran players they have on the floor, some older kids out there. They know what it means to get into conference battles where you have to bring it every day of the week. Not the kind of start that Baylor wanted in this ball game. Got some new players on the floor. There you see the shooting. Oklahoma State starting out shooting exactly like they did against Kansas.
Robbie McKenzie and Will Allen are on the floor for Baylor. R.T. Gwynn misses. McKenzie battles for the rebound. We've got a whistle and a foul, and that's going to go against Oklahoma State. Will Allen wears 21 for the Baylor Bears in black uniforms trimmed in green. Robbie McKenzie, a junior, is wearing number 3 for the Baylor Bears. We've got ourselves a timeout with 15:21 to play in the opening half. Oklahoma State leads it. We'll be right back after this message from your friends at Phillips 66. Fine Bill Bowman. Cowboy fans are loving this Oklahoma State basketball team. The Cowboys are 18-2 this year, and they're off to a 13-2 lead on Baylor. Baylor with the basketball trying to get it in, and Allen finds McKenzie.
Guard play will be so important for Baylor here this afternoon as they have to take care of the basketball, avoid turnovers, kill shot clock.
Tony Allen got a hand on that. Baylor will maintain possession. Plenty of time to shoot. 24 seconds on the shot clock. And Harvey Thomas comes back in for the Bears, replacing Robbie McKenzie. Baylor on the year is 7-15, 2-7 in conference play. Good pass to Gwynn. Missed a shot off the glass. Lucas had it knocked away momentarily.
Interior shooting has really hurt the Bears early on in this. They could easily have 3 more field goals if they make their layup.
Joey Graham with the dunk, the assist to Bobick. A 15-0 run for Oklahoma State after Baylor got the first 2 points of the game. And the Cowboys have yet to miss a field goal. They're 5 of 5 so far. Allen's pass is taken away by McFarlin.
On-ball pressure that time by Bobick creates that bad pass and the turnover. The Cowboys got their #1 wish here this afternoon to be this kind of start, because I think they'd like to play a lot of backups here this afternoon. They got a big game on Monday night in Norman. So they have gotten the start they wanted. Let's see if they continue their effort.
Second turnover of the day on Oklahoma State. Just a little bit too much on that bounce pass from Allen. Here's Terrence Thomas back into the game for Baylor, replacing Will Allen. Baylor has 2 conference victories, one over Iowa State and the other against Texas A&M, who lost a heartbreaker at home today to Oklahoma. Good pass to Marshall along the baseline. That hit the back of the rim, no good. Thomas battling for the rebound, and another foul on Oklahoma State. That'll be on Ivan McFarlin.
Got to give Baylor some credit. They're doing a super job of running their offense. I don't think they could have gotten better shots than what they've gotten early on here this afternoon in the first 6 minutes of this ball game. But sooner or later, got to hit some shots. If you continue to run your offense and get those shots, you figure at some point in time today they'll start going in.
Janava Witherspoon has come in for Oklahoma State, as has Terrence Crawford, and Crawford gets the loose ball here. Crawford is a guy who's been bothered by injuries throughout his career at Oklahoma State. Ruptured an Achilles, then had a knee injury in preseason, and that ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by Marshall. Crawford wears 42 for the Cowboys. As you take a look at Tony Allen. Here's Jason Miller into the lineup for OSU.
Crawford is getting healthier all the time for Oklahoma State. Getting more playing time. Seems to be past some of the knee problems and getting in better game shape to where he's able to take on more minutes. In fact, this might be a game today where we see quite a bit of it. Where the Cowboys would like to stretch him out a little bit, build some more endurance.
Good ball movement inside. Crawford collects and scores off the glass. 17 in a row scored by the Cowboys.
Tell you what, Crawford is tough. He had great post position that time. Sealed off the defender, got him on his hip, sealed him down low. The pass was on time. He can be that kind of player on the interior.
That's a tough shot by Matt Saman that falls, and that ends the drought. 17 in a row have been scored by Oklahoma State. The Cowboys have still yet to miss a shot. They're 6 of 6 from the floor, and a lot of those have been high percentage shots inside.
So Baylor needs to find a way to try to get back into this ball game. Really need to get it done on the defensive end. Cowboys continue to get good looks.
And a foul as Tony Allen goes to the hole. Foul's going to be on the floor. And Oklahoma State with a fresh 35. Witherspoon on the floor with Allen, Crawford, Lucas, and Miller for Oklahoma State in white.
You see that long inbounds pass that tells you your play didn't work, because Witherspoon took a couple looks at players cutting through the middle. Nobody was open. Baylor did a good job of defending that time.
This is Crawford. Miller with good position. R.T. Gwynn behind him. He scores a tough shot off the glass in the turnaround.
Miller, a starter earlier in the season. Relegated now to coming off the bench. Good high-low set that time. Again, solid post position by Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State not big by college standards, but they do have experienced players who know how to play that position game.
Good pass inside. Gwynn kicks it back out to Seaman. That on the drive. Lost footing, lost a handle of the basketball. It's another turnover. Gwynn tracks down the loose ball. Seaman will try the three in the corner. That rolls off. Marshall with the rebound. The littlest guy on the floor forces it up and can't score. Gwynn got it. And a foul on Jason Miller. Good hustle by Baylor on that end, not to give up on the possession. Let's take a moment now to thank our Big 12 corporate partner, Cooper Tire, proud to be the official tire of the Big 12 Conference. Cooper Tires, don't give up a thing. Here's Tommy Swanson coming back into the lineup for Baylor. He'll replace R.T. Gwynn. Now, Swanson's got to be careful. He has 2 personal fouls.
This might be a good test right here to bring the guy in, let him go play. He's still just a sophomore, but at some point in his career, you're going to have to learn to play in foul trouble. See how long he can hang around here in the first half.
Another loose ball situation, and Swanson collects it. It rolls off the rim, tapped up by Harvey Thomas. And it's Oklahoma State who's going to come away with the basketball, and no points given up.
And great effort by Harvey Thomas. He almost had a spectacular tip in. Tipped it up with the back of his hand. It rolled off the front edge.
Baylor's had some good looks inside. They just have not gotten the ball to roll for them on the rim, and we've got a whistle and a travel on Baylor as they nearly got a turnover, and that will take us to another timeout. Inside 12 minutes to play in the opening half. It's been all Oklahoma State so far. They've been hitting it from everywhere, including high percentage shots like that. Thank you, Doug. That's a pretty good way to save your best for last. First shot of the day at the very end of the ball game and hit the big shot to win it at home. Here at home in Stillwater, Oklahoma State has hit everything they put up. 7 of 7 from the floor so far for the Cowboys, the top shooting team in the country, and they lead it by 15 over Baylor, 19-4. Oklahoma State basketball out of the break.
Not unusual to see the Cowboys with the high field goal percentage, because the basis for Eddie Sutton's offense is discipline and take good shots. Know where you've got a chance to hit him. His entire offense is set up around those type players. But when you're shooting like they did against Kansas with that hot start, and like they're doing here this afternoon, even that is exceptional.
I think the only shot they've gotten so far outside of 2 feet was Bobbitt's three-point shot.
Baylor's had the similar kind of shots and can't hit those. They're just 2 of 14 to open the ball game.
Crawford has that blocked away by Harvey Thomas. The Cowboys will maintain possession with 7 seconds to shoot. Daniel Bobbitt will kick it in. He's the only starter for Oklahoma State on the floor right now, as Eddie Sutton is utilizing that bench, trying to get some guys some playing time.
Might do that for the rest of the afternoon as long as the Cowboys continue to play well.
Good effort by Terrence Crawford. He did everything but make the basket. Carl Marshall runs the show for Baylor.
Baylor can anticipate seeing man-to-man defense all afternoon. Crawford's going to get it back.
Another easy one for Oklahoma State.
Well, he missed the last stick back, so that probably inspired him a little bit when he got back to the defensive end. He came up with a steal. That is the 7th turnover of the ball game for Baylor. 6 of those have been steals. Steals almost always instant points on the other end because you get it in transition.
That basketball goes out of bounds. It'll be Baylor possession.
Now Crawford just lurking back in the crowd. That's one of the things all the Oklahoma State players do so well, is they stay back in the pack. Offensively, you need to pass it to your guy, but you also need to pass it away from the white jersey, because they're looking to get in that passing lane, even run through it to get the steals.
Crawford goes back to the bench. You saw him adjusting his knee brace after the dunk. He's still working to get into playing shape. There's Matt Seaman with the jumper for Baylor. That rolls off the rim. Stephen Graham on the floor, 21 for Oklahoma State. with it here.
Baylor loves to play that 2-3 zone defense.
Good rebound by Miller. The shot blocked by R.T. Gwynn. And Gwynn and Stephen Graham mix it up just a little bit. And that'll send Jason Miller to the foul line.
Getting competitive on the glass. Tough shooting angle right there as Baylor tries to seal off the baseline drive.
That was great ball movement, that possession by Oklahoma State. I'm trying to think if they even dribbled as they moved the ball around the floor and then finally got the entry pass.
Well, they should be playing free and easy right now because of the lead that they have. They're comfortable in their offensive end. Got a good look at that zone defense already.
Miller at the line, coaches that one in. Jason Miller is a 68% foul shooter. Here's Tony Allen checking back in for OSU, replacing Stephen Graham. A couple of more Cowboys will come in if this ball is made. Miller's a senior from Livingston, Texas, transferred to OSU from North Texas. And he makes them both, and with that make, here comes Joey Graham and John Lucas back into the Oklahoma State lineup, replacing Jason Miller and Janava Witherspoon. 23-4 Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State has already gone 8 deep on their rotation. Baylor has gone 7 deep. Some of that because of foul trouble early on here today.
Terrence Thomas thought he was fouled. That shot comes up short. Lucas goes the other way. Pulling up and missing. And McFarlin's got the rebound. Comes up short. And Baylor's got the basketball. Terrence Thomas 3-on-2 for the Bears. Harvey Thomas pulls up. Can't hit. And the rebound tracked down by Tony Allen. A lot of running now. Good lead from McFarlin. A whistle and a foul. That's going to go against Terrence Thomas. And that will send McFarlin to the foul line.
Oklahoma State doing a good job on the offensive glass here this afternoon. They always commit 3 players to the offensive rebound. 2 fall back to play defense. 3 go to the glass. McFarlin, their strongest offensive rebound.
McFarlin misses. Ivan, a 67% foul shooter. Senior out of Houston. Missed them both. Cowboys now in the ball game are 6 of 9 from the line.
That's the only thing they've missed.
Not too many.
Oklahoma State tries to turn up the defensive pressure, try to chase and double team out in front. Fun challenge for the Baylor guards here today.
Good rebound by Harvey Thomas, and the ball's knocked away from him, and the Bears will maintain possession with 15 to shoot. Let's take a moment now to thank our Big 12 corporate partner, 7-Up, and your local 7-Up bottler. Make 7-Up yours. R.T. Gwynn from the foul line. Pretty looking jump shot. That falls.
And another good look for the Baylor Bears. In fact, their second good look on that trip down the floor. They continue to run their offense nicely, just can't hit the open shots.
First 2 of the game for Gwynn.
Gwynn is a guy who brings energy and points off the bench for the Baylor Bears, but had to go to him early today because of some foul problems. Baylor now back into a man-to-man defense.
You know, Oklahoma State's done a lot of scoring in this game with 23, but the guy who hasn't done much scoring is the guy who's been averaging better than 20 points his last 3 games, John Lucas. He's going to have to do something here with 3 seconds to shoot. Fade away over Gwynn. That comes up short. Don't count that as the shot clock expires. And it's a turnover to Baylor. John Lucas has been on a roll for Oklahoma State. 19 points a game over his last 8. Scored 21 the other night against KU. And with that miss, we've got a timeout taken. With Paul Splittorff, I'm Bill Dolman. We are at Gallagher-Iba Arena in Stillwater, Oklahoma for today's game between the Baylor Bears and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Eddie Sutton showing a little anger right now, but he should be pretty happy with the way his team has come out of the gate. OSU 48% from the floor. They hit their first 7 shots. Baylor, meanwhile, has struggled just 3 of 19 and managing just 6 points to this point. Baylor's coming off of a loss against Texas, 84-58. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State was coming off of a huge win over Kansas. The eyes of the nation were watching as Oklahoma State jumped out to a 9-point lead. And the Cowboys never looked back. Everybody got into the act. 5 Cowboy starters scored in double figures, led by John Lucas, who had 21 points to lead the way. And it's a very similar start for the Cowboys this afternoon. One of the key areas in that game against KU, Paul, was the fact that Oklahoma State outscored Kansas 29-8 in points off turnovers. Their defense, again, was dynamite.
Well, if their defense can key their offense, they'll be a much better team. Cowboys feel they're a better half-court team this year because they have more offensive weapons. But it seems, especially on this floor, when they get that defense going, get steals, create transition baskets, they many times win in runaway fashion.
That foul was on Harvey Thomas, his first personal foul. Tony Allen misses. Matt Saman with the rebound for Baylor.
You mentioned Lucas not scoring. There are two ways you can look at him. One is as a scorer, but throughout his career, he has always looked pass first. So overall, you have to look at the Oklahoma State offense. How well is it running? And if it's running well, it's because Lucas has got it tuned up.
And a blocking foul is called on Daniel Bobick. Eddie Sutton thought it should have been a turnover on Baylor. The Bears will have possession when we come back. We've got ourselves a timeout, and we'll be right back after this message from your friends at Phillips 66. Thank you, Doug. Well, two teams atop the league standings. One's got it easy going right now. The other one's in a bit of a tussle. Oklahoma State tied with Texas for first in the Big 12. One of the reasons why Oklahoma State is in first, well, they love playing here at home. They're unbeaten at Gallagher-Iba this season, averaging better than 81 points. And their field goal numbers are phenomenal, out-rebounding opponents by nearly 8 a game. This is definitely home sweet home.
Yeah, they've been super at home, but they also won a ball game at Texas earlier this year, and that was almost like winning 2 ball games. Iowa State off to a good start this afternoon. Iowa State beat Kansas on that floor 2 weeks ago. Got off to a quick start against these Cowboys last week. In fact, Iowa State at one time was up 12-4, but Oklahoma State was able to turn the momentum around in that game. Eddie Sutton called a timeout within the first couple minutes. He saw the direction that game was headed. He said that was a nice wake-up call for his team because Iowa State came out on fire. And he told his guys, hey, guys, they're ready to play. You're not. We need to change that. And his guys responded.
Cowboys lead this one by 18. That foul was on Harvey Thomas, his second personal foul, and that could become an issue for Baylor as this thing progresses. R.T. Gwynn, Tommy Swanson, and Harvey Thomas all with 2 fouls, and we are above the 7-foul limit, so we're shooting them the rest of the way for Oklahoma State. R.T. Gwynn with the basketball. Saman had an open lane. And scoots it across the lane to Harvey Thomas, who can't handle the basketball. Well, the turnovers are beginning to mount up now for Baylor as well. 9 turnovers in the game for Baylor. They only had 9 the other night, the entire game against Texas.
They were concerned about that here this afternoon. What this quick start has done, surprisingly, haven't taken the crowd out of this ball game. It's so much more quiet here this afternoon. It is in most games at Gallagher-Iba.
McFarlin gets that one to roll in.
Good interior passing right there by Oklahoma State. Mentioned earlier, they're a little bit undersized at the 4 and 5 positions, but they are unselfish, and all their post players, very good handlers of the ball. Terrific passers inside.
Harvey Thomas for 3, in and out, no good. It's been that kind of day so far for Baylor. McFarlin and Allen a little bit too close together. Here's Lucas left alone for 3. Got it. Well, that'll get the crowd back into it just a little bit. The former Baylor Bear sticks one in for Oklahoma State. And that causes Baylor to call a timeout, stopping it with 6:44 to play in the opening half. A 30-6 Oklahoma State lead.
Well, take a look at Oklahoma State, their last 2 possessions. We talk about their post play, the interior play, the dribble drive, the bounce pass. McFarlin working his magic underneath the basket. Play doesn't look all that slick the next time. You got the big boys handling the ball, but as soon as you can get it in the hands of one of the guards, it's got a great finish.
John Lucas hitting 43% of his shots from behind the arc, 49% from the floor overall. And Lucas now has 5 points in this game. He led Baylor to victory on this very floor a year ago with 20 points. And that was a Baylor squad that included Kenny Taylor, who is now at Texas, and Lawrence Roberts, who's now at Mississippi State.
Well, you talk to Eddie Sutton, he'll tell you John Lucas has hit the big baskets for his team and hit clutch free throws down the stretch. Oklahoma State's won their share of close games.
That ball poked out of bounds, and Baylor will maintain possession. Let's take a moment to thank our Big 12 corporate partner, Gatorade Thirst Quencher. Gatorade, it's in college basketball. Is it in you? 6.5 minutes to play in the opening half. Baylor has managed just 6 points. Dangerous cross-court pass to R.T. Gwynn. Back the other way to Saman, who tries a monster three. That rolls off. Gwynn with the rebound. Got it in. And Paul Jansen's going to wave it off and say we've got basket interference by the offense.
R.T. Gwynn has had some great looks here this afternoon. You talk about that cross-court pass, maybe a little dangerous. A little easier when you're going cross-court to a 6'10 guy. That one goes out of bounds. It's going to have to go on the second deck.
McFarlin, good pass to Allen along the baseline, who scores in the reverse.
And Scott Drew not happy about that. That's too easy. Somebody needs to step up and take away the baseline and create a double team opportunity. Baylor does a really nice job of trapping a double team along the sideline and a baseline in that 2-3 zone, but it didn't happen that time.
Thomas with a tough miss. Yeah, it's one thing for Scott Drew to have his team come up short on the scoreboard, but the one thing that he clearly wants to see is effort.
Well, he's such a positive and upbeat guy. He will make it happen there.
Carl Marshall has that roll off. Thomas gets the rebound. Spins on McFarlin. High arcing shot won't go. Crawford has the rebound. Clearing it ahead to Tony Allen.
And Baylor had a couple good looks that time down the floor.
John Lucas puts up the running one-hander. And Saman's got the rebound. Kind of ragtag the last couple of possessions for Oklahoma State, and a foul in the backcourt on John Lucas. And that will be team foul number 6 on Oklahoma State. And Franz Stain is checking in for Oklahoma State. He hasn't played in the last 7 ball games, but this goes back to what we've talked about several times already. This is a game that if you can handle it the way you should, you can get a lot of players into this one, get some valuable minutes as you look down the conference stretch. Stain is already seeing some time here. Terrence Crawford has already been in.
Stain has 1 start earlier this year. They'd like to get him some time here this afternoon. Still just a junior, so he's got some time left on campus.
Will Allen with the 3, getting Baylor to 9. 5 minutes to play in the first half. Baylor so far in this game, 4 of 27 from the floor, just 15%. Here's Lucas from the top of the key. Gets that one to fall.
I don't think you can stay with any team shooting 15%. You certainly can't stay with a team like Oklahoma State, who makes very few mistakes.
Who's shooting right now above their season average of 52%. Cowboys right now 57% from the floor.
This has been a critical time all season long for Baylor when you get late in the half. This is where their lack of depth starts to show. As they start to wear down late in the first half, late in the ballgame, this is many times where the mistakes occur.
Terrence Thomas left his feet and tried to poke the ball away from Thomas. And that will be team foul number 7 on Oklahoma State. That will send Terrence Thomas to the foul line. 34-9, Oklahoma State, the number 10 team in the country. Preseason number 5 pick in the Big 12 Conference, both coaches and media polls. And right now OSU tied for first with Texas. I think as you get down to the home stretch of the season, you start thinking, all right, coaches of the year candidates. I think Eddie Sutton certainly has to be on a few ballots, if not at the top of the list. Thomas misses the front end of the 1-and-1. Stain tried to get the rebound, lost it. Crawford tracks it down for him.
So many things go on when you hit the month of February. Teams hope to play their best basketball to get themselves in position for postseason play. There's a lot of talk about most valuable player in the league, who are the outstanding freshmen, who are your top defenders. A lot of things happen in February. That's when the college basketball season really heats up.
Thomas misses a quick 3. Crawford has the rebound ahead to Allen. Allen, nice pass to Witherspoon, who scores easily off the glass.
Again, put the ball in the hands of one of your guards or wing players. Let him bring it to the offensive end. They'll make good things happen. All of the Oklahoma State guys have good assist to turnover ratios. Tony Allen, one of those guys. He's got almost 3 assists for every turnover this year.
McKenzie misses the shot after a decent pass by Terrence Thomas. Lucas leaves it for Witherspoon. Contact, scores off the glass, draws the foul, and has a chance for the 3-point play. Everybody's getting into the act for Oklahoma State.
And Bill, again, here's your guards. This is what I'm talking about. There's Lucas with the ball. He got it from Allen. Give it back to Witherspoon. No surprise, 3-on-1 breaks. Guards know how to complete that deal. Allen to Lucas. Here's Witherspoon, 2 points and a free throw. Guards love to get out and run the break. Let them get out, fill their lane, see what you can do with it.
And that completes the three-point play and gives Oklahoma State a 30-point lead on Baylor with 3:20 to play in the first half. We've got a timeout. Back with more in a moment. Number 10 is there in front of Oklahoma State's name. The Cowboys have had a terrific start to this one, leading Baylor 39-9. And the key reason why, Paul Squidward, the play of John Lucas, who continues to roll.
Well, he got his team involved in the game early on with his passing and ball handling. It took about 15 minutes for the rest of his team to get him involved in it, at least on the offensive end. But Lucas very much in the middle of it right now. Player of the week last week in the Big 12. Second time this year that he's being awarded that honor.
The last 3 games, 24 points per game and hitting better than 64% of his shots from the floor. Matt Saman with the basketball for Baylor.
Matt Saman was an important player for Baylor last year as a backup. In fact, many times picking up John Lucas. Now he's one of the leaders of the Bears club this year.
10 seconds to shoot. Thomas, nice move along the baseline, puts up the wild reverse layup. That's no good. Stephen Graham has the rebound for the Cowboys. Witherspoon.
Baylor got a lot of movement in their offense that time down, and that's one of the things they like to do. Get a lot of movement, a lot of player and ball movement. Nobody really looks at the basket till it gets inside the 10 seconds. Still didn't get much of a shot.
Ryan Pryor is on the floor for Baylor. He wears number 2. Tommy Swanson, a long-range jump hook.
Probably a little out of his range for that shot. Swanson out there working hard today, but not a great decision right there.
Crawford and Stain miscommunicate on the positioning inside. That ball goes out of bounds to Baylor. Time now for the GMC professional grade player profile. Oklahoma State represented in the NBA by Desmond Mason, now of the Milwaukee Bucks. Thomas inside, draws some contact, and that'll send Thomas to the foul line. David Hall, Terry Moore, and Paul Jansen are officials for today's game.
And he's sitting over there pleading for his player, Franz Stain. Say, hey, he's 7'2". I got him taught to where he's got his hands straight up in the air. Don't whistle him. I'm trying to make some progress with this young guy.
How often do you see a head coach and an official just share a nice little mid-game chuckle like that?
Maybe when that head coach has a 30-point lead.
And with that foul shot, Baylor finally reaches double figures. And for Harvey Thomas, who averages 16 points a game, that's his first point of the game.
I think maybe the other qualifier is you have to have 700 wins.
That's right.
700 wins, 30-point lead. Okay, now maybe we can yuck it up.
Coming up on 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Baylor's got to go some to get some points. The fewest they've scored in a first half this season. They had 15 in the second game of the year against Stephen F. Austin. They have 11 here today. Saman, who's been in every Baylor game of his career. This is the 112th game in a Baylor uniform for number 13. R.T. Gwynn, one of the top 3-point shooters in the country, has that one roll in and out. Stephen Graham has the rebound.
R.T. Gwynn is that kind of player. He's big at 6'10", 250 pounds, but he's really more comfortable out on the perimeter than he is on the low blocks. See Oklahoma State with the big advantage. 20-2 in the paint.
R.T. Gwynn with the hard foul. That's his 3rd personal foul.
Remember, he got into this ball game early because of fouls on one of his teammates.
They're going to say that foul is on Matt Saman and not on R.T. Gwynn. And that's good news for Baylor. For Saman, that's his 1st personal. And now R.T. Gwynn just with 2. And Graham hits the first of 2. There's Scott Drew in his first season as the head coach of the Baylor Bears. And he took over this program in August. Very little time for them to do any recruiting for this team, although they've done some very good recruiting for next year's squad. But you ask anybody around the country who the best person to take over the Baylor program that had been beset with tragedy. And when the name Drew came up, a lot of people said, you know what, that's a great, great hire.
Well, they came from Valparaiso, which is also a church-related school, so certainly you had those ties. What's interesting, he had just 1 year of experience as the head coach at Valparaiso, and his father, who had retired when Scott left to go to Baylor, Dad got back on the bench, and he's got the Crusaders in position to win the Mid-Continent Conference again this year.
Well, Scott told us that year off did his dad good and kind of rejuvenated his coaching career. He said his golf game wasn't getting much better.
Well, you find out a little bit about your golf game, your level of mediocrity right there. I think that would help a lot of coaches, because you talk about a job that is year-round and all the pressure that these guys have on. I think a year out would probably help a lot of them. Certainly be better the next time around.
It's a classy family, the Drew family. Look at Bob for a long time.
Look at Bob Knight. He was out of coaching. He went to Texas Tech, kind of rejuvenates him, gives him a fresh start.
Long-range three from Matt Saman. That helps the Bears' cause. Gets them to 14, but there's only 12 seconds remaining in the opening half. And Oklahoma State's going to have a chance to run this thing down and take the final shot. Here's Daniel Bobbitt. Real Allen, good pass. Jason Miller fade away along the baseline, no good. Graham tried to tap it up and in. It doesn't fall. And the first half comes to an end. And the Oklahoma State Cowboys of Eddie Sutton are in control of this one in a big way, leading it 43-11 over Baylor. Welcome back to Gallagher-Iba Arena in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm Bill Dolman with Paul Splittorff. It's all Oklahoma State at home. The Cowboys, that's right, lead it 43-14. Let's take a look at the Shelter Insurance first half highlights, and it is all OSU.
Yeah, Bill, we're going to see a lot of white jerseys. Probably the best move we saw in the first half is Joey Graham. He finishes with 6 points, 2 rebounds. Daniel Bobbitt, a 3-pointer, a couple assists. There's Graham again with the power game going inside. More power, high, low. Jason Miller right there. Got 9 minutes of playing time in the first half. It took John Lucas a while to get going in the first half, but he came with 7 points at the break. Oklahoma State played 10 guys, 9 of them scored.
They scored a bunch. For your insurance needs, visit shelterinsurance.com to find the shelter agent near you. Seek shelter today. Oklahoma State leads Baylor 43-14 at halftime. I'm Bill Dolman. Oklahoma State will have the basketball to open up the final 20 minutes of this one. Daniel Bobbitt, Ivan McFarlin, Tony Allen on the floor along with Joey Graham and John Lucas. Oklahoma State in the home white, trimmed in orange and black. This is McFarlin in the lane, missing off the mark, and pulling it down is Matt Saman for Baylor.
Oklahoma State starts the second half with the same players they opened the ball game with, Bill. Let's see how long that lasts. I'm sure they'll continue to substitute freely through the final 20 minutes. Both teams start defensively like they started the ball game. Baylor in his zone, Oklahoma State man-to-man.
Let's take a look at the statistics from the first half, a half that was dominated by Oklahoma State in just about every way you can imagine.
That has routes spelled all over.
54% from the floor. Baylor just 15% from the floor.
The Baylor 15% is really not an indication of how well they ran their offense. There's a good look right there in their first possession in the second half. If they shot just 50% on their wide open shots, they certainly would have had more points than they have now, maybe double the points of what they had at the break.
Well, a lot of the shots they had in the first half were just like the one that was just made, the inside, but you just didn't get the good roll.
And even a 2-point shot within the perimeter line or just outside had wide open looks. Oklahoma State may work some clock here in the second half, more so than what they did earlier in the ball game. I'm sure would like to keep this clock rolling. Don't make any mistakes. Just run through your offense. It's down to 2.
Graham gives off to Allen, who scores off the glass with 1 second remaining on the shot clock.
The perfect possession when you have a comfortable lead. Go ahead and use the entire possession clock. Shoot with the final couple of seconds and come away with points. Can't run it any better than that if you're an Oklahoma State Cowboy.
Allen now has 10 points in the game as that pass goes out of bounds, and it's a turnover to Oklahoma State.
Spread the offense, keep your spacing, pass the ball, move with and without. There's the dribble drive, the dump off pass. Allen with the finish. Graham with the assist.
On the floor for Baylor to open up the half, Carl Marshall, Matt Saman, Harvey Thomas, Tommy Swanson, and Terrence Thomas. This is Graham along the baseline, has that shot taken away by Harvey Thomas. Thomas with a nice move in the open floor. Good pass. Marshall in the corner, fires up the 3 and hits it.
So you wonder what Baylor comes out of this in this ball game, but you take a look at Scott Drew, and when you get in ball games like this is where you find out about the character of some of your players. Will they continue to work hard and play within the system when they're down on the scoreboard? It's easy to play when everything is going well. It's a lot tougher on the road in a situation like this. Which one of the guys have enough heart and enough character to come out, still stay with their game plan, and be tough the rest of the way? Certainly they've had some ball games like that this year. Scott Drew overall has been very pleased with the efforts of his players. But it's games like this where you found out a lot about character.
Swanson with a jump hook. That's no good. Allen pulls down the rebound. Here's Lucas. A lot of black jerseys back waiting for him, so he wisely pulls it back. Yeah, for Baylor, wins and losses will come in time as Scott Drew is able to establish his program. But as he was telling us before the game today, there are a lot of areas within a game that you can look for victories. For example, as Miller scores off the glass there, the 9 turnovers against Texas. It's incremental, but given where this program was less than a year ago, you got to look for anything that you can to maintain, show your character and maintain some type of positive air, and they've done a nice job of doing that. Let's take a moment now to thank our Big 12 corporate partner, Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich.
Yeah, anything you can look at to help build your program. Take small steps, the bigger steps will come.
Seaman has the shot blocked from behind by Bobick. Graham runs the floor well, but can't handle the pass from John Lucas. That goes out of bounds, and it's Baylor basketball. If the score is 49-39, you might see a little more consternation off that Oklahoma State bench after a play like that.
Eddie Sutton will want it to look like basketball. He won't let it go too awful long.
Can't get too ragtag.
No.
Swanson goes to the bench, and R.T. Gwynn comes back in, and Joey Graham will also find a seat on the Oklahoma State sideline. This is Seaman lobbing it in there for Thomas, and Thomas throws it off of Ivan McFarlin out of bounds, and the Bears will maintain possession. It's been a frustrating day for Harvey Thomas, who averages about 16 points a contest. He only has 4 today and 3 fouls. He's 1 of 9 from the floor. He's a guy that Baylor certainly wants to get more involved offensively.
He was not eligible the first 8 games of the season. They were happy to welcome him to their team. When he got eligible, it was about the time that one of their players got hurt and actually left their club. So it was add one, take another one. There was no gain by Baylor. 6 scholarship players coming up empty on that possession. Lucas, nice pass to Allen along the baseline. That's tipped up and back in by Ivan McFarlin. That's McFarlin's game right there. Hang around on the low blocks and in the paint area. He's a terrific offensive rebounder. The putbacks are there. A lefty just swatted that one up from the strong side.
Oklahoma State with an 8-0 run. R.T. Gwynn thought about the 3, and here's Thomas. Big hop and a shot, and Gwynn has the rebound, and he draws a foul.
Gwynn has really gotten some things done in the interior this afternoon. Been good on the offensive glass. He's had some good looks inside.
And Gwynn will go to the line.
Gwynn had some eligibility concerns. He missed 3 games in early January, but got things worked out.
That foul on Bobick is his first personal foul. Here's R.T. Gwynn to the line. Averaging 9 points a contest. And he makes the first of 2. And into the lineup is Joey Graham replacing Jason Miller. R.T. Gwynn, a senior from Albuquerque, team captain, transferred from New Mexico. Solid defensive player, too, as well as being a very good shooter, although he misses the second of 2. Just a 60% foul shooter. It's interesting because R.T. Gwynn, as I mentioned in the first half, is one of the top 3-point shooters in the country, certainly for a man his size, but foul shooting has been a problem. Good pass to McFarlin. He scores and draws a foul. Good ball movement by Oklahoma State in that possession.
Oklahoma State will want to work this like a practice the rest of the way. Bring it into the offensive end. Run your offense. Try to find mismatches on the floor. Keep your spacing. Get some movement. Penetration, dump down pass, 2 points, and a free throw to follow.
McFarlin coaches that one in. And that takes us to a timeout. 54-20, Oklahoma State. McFarlin with the tip in. Everything's going right for the Cowboys. We'll be right back after this message from your friends at Phillips 66. Well, it's been a sweetheart of a game so far for the Oklahoma State Cowboys on Valentine's Day as they lead Baylor 54-20. Time now for Shooting the Rock, brought to you by Rolling Rock here. Grab a rock.
And Eddie Sutton's Valentine gift from his team. How about 57% field goal shooting percentage? He has gotten the kind of game that he wants, been able to include all of his players.
I suppose if you had those little Valentine heart candies, the ones he would pass out would say, don't miss, nice shot.
Take a good shot, pass the ball.
Yeah. Keep up the good work. The whistle and a foul, and that's going to go on Tony Allen.
The one that he has that I really like when they do the good job of interior passing, get it right next to the basket. Dunk the ball. Dunk the ball. I never had a coach tell me, dunk the ball.
Take advantage of the high percentage shot. Baylor basketball with a fresh 35. And the deep pass to Carl Marshall.
Oklahoma State stays in that man-to-man defense, even with that inbounds pass underneath their basket. Pretty impressive. So many teams go to the zone right there.
Nice move by Terrence Thomas along the baseline.
Terrence Thomas is quite a body. He's out there at 6'6", 220. Pretty good range, good shooter, but really likes to put it on the floor and get it to the basket.
Nice pass from Allen to Ivan McFarlin. Two more for the Cowboys, who are shooting at a 58% clip. 9 points in the game now for Ivan McFarlin. And a hold on Tony Allen as Terrence Thomas was trying to get free. And that'll be team foul number 3 on Oklahoma State in the half. And for Allen, that's his second foul, and second in about a minute. Carl Marshall with the basketball. He and Tony Allen actually went to the same high school, Crane High School in Chicago, although a couple of years apart. Allen is a senior here at OSU. Marshall a true freshman. Carl with it here, tries the 3. Got it. Nice looking lefty.
He's done a good job of scoring recently. Still only 4 points per game on average, but 14 points last time out. A season high for him. That was against Texas A&M. In fact, he's hit 7 of his last 13 three-pointers coming into play here today. So there's a first-year player that's really starting to step up his game, catching up to the level of play here in this league. Looks like he has a bright future.
Yeah, Marshall is 2 of 2 from behind the arc in this one. There's a foul on Harvey Thomas of Baylor. And that's his 3rd personal foul. 2nd team foul on the Bears in the half. Take a look at Scott Drew. He heads up the youngest coaching staff among the major schools in the country. Average age is 34. Allen with a nice catch, goes off the glass and scores.
And he got to name his entire staff, so he was able to pick the guys that he wanted to bring in. His top assistant came from Valparaiso with him, so they've, even though been only together 1 year at Baylor, they've been together a couple seasons now.
Harvey Thomas gets the friendly roll on the road. 2 more for Harvey. Those baskets have been tough to come by for him. And the Baylor staff includes Matt Driscoll, Mark Moorfield, and Jerome Tang. And a timeout is taken by Oklahoma State. And that's a timeout taken by Eddie Sutton. 58-27 is our score. The Cowboys in control in Stillwater. Well, Cowboy fans are very happy because Oklahoma State leads at 58-27, but that guy is very happy because she said yes at halftime. Pulse Poodle for Love is in the air on Valentine's Day.
Boy, that is a huge risk. When you come into a building and there are about 13,000 people here, what if it's a no? Do you ever show your face on campus again?
Good question.
I mean, think of the risk.
Yeah. He had to probably have a pretty good inclination that it was going to be a yes.
Either that or you show up with a huge stone.
We probably went with the 6 to 8 month rule instead of the 3 to assure of the positive response. So congratulations to the young couple.
Well, Oklahoma State continue to work the offensive glass, working behind that 2-3 Baylor zone to get good shots. Of course, Ivan McFarlin, he gets good shots against all the schools in this league.
McFarlin, the left-hander, drills the first of 2. Here's Tommy Swanson checking back in for Baylor. He replaces R.T. Gwynn. Gwynn 4 personal fouls now. And McFarlin with 10 points in the game. And he'll stay with 10 points in the game. And the rebound tapped around. Good heads-up play. Joey Graham got a hand on it and got it back out to John Lucas.
Now, that's one thing both these coaches will look at the rest of the way. What about the loose ball? How many of them is our team coming up with? More important for Baylor right now because they're on the short end trying to build their program. You want them hungry. You want them aggressive. You want them working hard.
Good strong move by Tony Allen, who now has 14 points in the game on 6 of 9 shooting. Harvey Thomas shooting over Joey Graham. That rolls off. And the rebound to Ivan McFarlin.
Oklahoma State, while they've done a great job on the defensive glass here this afternoon, really hadn't been able to get much going in transition. Baylor's done a nice job of releasing a couple players, get back and take away that transition game.
Janava Witherspoon missed the shot, and the rebound rolls out of bounds. Last touched by Oklahoma State. Baylor basketball. Carl Marshall wants to run. A lot of guys walking back with their heads turned. Here's Matt Saman on the break. Leaves it for Terrence Thomas, who flies in and scores.
Good heads-up, unselfish basketball by Baylor right there. Marshall pushes the ball down the floor when he saw it wasn't going to work. Moved the ball around. Good break to the basket by the Bears.
61-29, Oklahoma State, who has a date with Oklahoma on Monday night. And that pass out of Joey Graham's reach. David Hall says it didn't touch anybody, so it's a turnover to Baylor.
Well, you talk about Baylor working hard here this afternoon. Marshall looking down the floor. Matt Saman actually comes away with the assist in this one. Off balance, but good heads-up play. Good instincts. Head for that open lane. Baylor successful in the secondary break.
Terrence Crawford gets a hand on the basketball and the whistle. We've got a held ball. The possession arrow belongs to Baylor. And with that whistle, we've got ourselves a timeout. Oklahoma State leads Baylor 61-29 in Stillwater. There's a guy who had a great career at Oklahoma State. Big country, Bryant Reeves. And looks like he's got a pretty good little family going, that he might have a couple of countries of his own that might be Cowboys one day.
Yeah, how about that older boy that he's got? If that isn't a younger country coming along here, I mean, there's no doubt who's that.
I suppose they would be, what, big counties?
They're
something
just,
like that, big neighborhoods?
They're townships now.
Boy, I tell you, the shot that he made, and we were seeing it on a highlights package earlier today. Was it over Missouri a win? Oh, one of the great moments, I think, in college basketball of all time.
Missouri's had a couple tough moments down here, losing ball games late like that.
Terrence Thomas at the foul line. 75% foul shooter, a senior out of Dallas. Hits the first of 2. Here's Stephen Graham checking in for Janava Witherspoon. Terrence Thomas on the day with 5 points. 2 of 5 shooting, 2 of 5 from, or 1 of 2, beg your pardon, from the foul line. Perfect this trip. 61-31, a 30-point lead for Oklahoma State. Saw the highlights a moment ago of Iowa State and Texas. The Longhorns have Texas A&M coming up as John Lucas hits that 3. Give him 10 points in this ball game.
Iowa State is a little bit shorthanded. They're a little bit like Baylor in that regard. They don't have a lot of depth. So even though they got off to a good start in their ball game, it looks like maybe Texas with their superior depth gain on them in the second half. Of course, when you go into ball games, you can almost always bet on Texas bench is going to outscore their opponents. Good ball movement that time by Baylor. Oklahoma State's always going to pressure the ball out on the perimeter. That'll keep some opportunities available for backdoor cuts and cuts through the lane.
Stephen Graham clearing out the lane, backing into Saman. He scores off the glass and draws a foul. Well, that was a determined basket as we take a look at the Baylor basket a moment ago.
Good awareness by Baylor, seeing the ball and an opportunity to get it to the basket, the feed, and Tommy Swanson with the strong finish. A bit of a mismatch right there. Matt Saman's going to do all that he can against Stevie Graham, but Graham out there about 6'6", 210. Size and strength advantage over Saman.
Oklahoma State has had several three-point play opportunities in this game, and they've made the most of those. Marshall picked up by Lucas.
Matt Saman, very steady basketball player. Bob Knight paid him a heck of a tribute, I thought, a week or so ago. Said that if he was at Texas Tech, when Saman came out of high school, they would have recruited me, would have loved to have had him in his program. Saman had a pretty good ball game against the Red Raiders, scored 20 points.
Long rebound run down by Joey Graham. Good pass to Lucas.
You know, a younger player would probably force that one up. You got the lead by 30 points. Go ahead and pad your stats. But John Lucas sees the bigger picture. Did not have a high percentage shot. Knew the situation in the game. Bring it back out. Let's work the basketball. Still end up with a layup.
Terrence Crawford with the assist to Joey Graham. And I think you're seeing a demoralized Baylor squad because there was a lot of standing around with arms down in that defensive sequence. That pass was just a little bit too easy. And that ball goes out of bounds, and it will belong to Baylor. Today's game is brought to you by Whataburger, just like you like it. And I think Scott Drew is sensing that the effort is lagging just a little bit from his Baylor Bears because he's made a complete line change, gone to his bench, and brought in a bunch of the walk-ons that have dotted this lineup, although R.T. Gwynn is also on the floor.
Well, he saw the same thing you did. Not a great intensity on one end of the floor. Again, we're back to now the second half of the second half. This is where it gets a little bit more difficult. So send in 5 new ones, see what you come away with. I mentioned the numbers that they have. They have 6 scholarship players in uniform right now, 5 walk-ons. Let's get some more energy out there.
This is Ryan Pryor hitting the jumper along the baseline.
When Pryor comes off the bench, it's to do that. Has not had a lot of success from the field this year, but he's not afraid to take a shot.
Also on the floor for Baylor, you've got Robbie McKenzie, Turner Phipps, Nino Etienne, and R.T. Gwynn to go with Ryan Pryor, who hit the shot a moment ago. Inside 10 minutes remaining in this one. And a whistle and a timeout taken by Eddie Sutton. He doesn't want to see his team backslide at all and lose its focus. This is all about finishing strong from this point out.
You don't have to leave the arena. Stick around and cheer on Coach really good enough. Really good enough Cowgirls. If you do have to leave for some reason, bring your ticket stuff back and get free admission to tonight's contest. The Cowgirls hosting the Tigers.
This ESPN Plus game is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of the 2004 Phillips 66 Big 12 basketball tournament. You can count on Phillips 66 quality Pro-Clean gasolines. Cooper Tire, proud to be the official tire of the Big 12 Conference. Cooper Tires, don't give up a thing. Shelter Insurance, for your insurance needs, visit shelterinsurance.com to find the shelter agent near you. Seek shelter today. Whataburger, just like you like it. And by Infinity, makers of the QX56, a full-size SUV coming in February 2004. And as we were winding that down, John Lucas just hit a long-range 3 for Oklahoma State to give the Cowboys a 72-35 lead. Lucas now has 13 points in the game, one of 4 Cowboys in double figures. And Franz Stain is checked back in for Oklahoma State, the big guy wearing number 4.
You know you're in pretty good shape when you get to this stage of the ball game and you've doubled the score on your opponent.
Baylor scored the first 2 points in this game. There has been 1 lead change.
And it was permanent.
Phipps misses, and the rebound is Stain, but he takes a knee and is called for traveling.
He's okay if he doesn't try to get up because he did not drag his pivot foot. David Hall made that call when he got back to his feet. Now that's the lack of experience. He's from South Africa and was a rugby player, and the more he's around the game, that's where you learn the nuances like that. Stay to the knee. He would have been okay if he'll give up the basketball.
And a whistle, and that's going to go against Stephen Graham on the inbounds play. And that'll be team foul number 5 on Oklahoma State in the half. Let's take a look at our assist leaders, brought to you by Cargill. Collaborate, create, and succeed. Aaron Miles of Kansas with the lead, but John Lucas of Oklahoma State in second place, just under 5 assists a contest. John Lucas, quite frankly, does it all for this squad as Ryan Pryor hits the 3. He's probably provided a bit of a spark off the bench for Scott Drew.
Well, there's a junior that will be back next year, a local product out of Round Rock, Texas, just outside of Austin. be given an opportunity. And backup players, that's what they want, is an opportunity to show what you can do in game conditions. You see a lot of them in practice. You don't see them a lot in the games. Player average just a couple minutes per ball game.
Take a look at Turner Phipps, and now Tommy Swanson is going to check back into the Baylor lineup for RT Gwynn. 72-38, 8:08 to play. Mention coming up for Oklahoma State after this one, and the Cowboys well on their way to their 9th consecutive win. For Baylor, this is their second of 3 straight games against teams ranked in the top 25. They've got a trip to Lawrence, Kansas after this, and then play Missouri next weekend. Stephen Graham, Tony Allen, Franz Stain, Ivan McFarlin, and Tanava Witherspoon for Oklahoma State. Here's Stain looking the ball around, has that pass intercepted. Nope, got it back. Allen to the baseline. McFarlin scores.
Good recovery by Oklahoma State. That ball's knocked loose because of good anticipation defensively by Baylor, but Cowboys able to react, still come away with a layup. Getting that time of the year where teams at the top part of the league are not only looking at their schedule, they're also looking at the schedules of teams around them in the standings, teams in the middle part of this league, and there are several in the Big 12 trying to position themselves for possible NCAA berths.
3-on-1, gets it back to Graham. He scores, and he's fouled. That foul is going to be on Turner Phipps, and yet another 3-point play opportunity for Oklahoma State, who continues to pour it on.
Oklahoma State loves to get into the break, and they go high right here because Phipps, the defender, is in there at 6 feet tall. So throw the ball up on the glass, let Graham go get it. He's out there at 6'6", running the floor.
Stephen Graham and his brother Joey transferred to Oklahoma State from Central Florida, where both were starters. And Graham connects on the foul shot, and that 3-point play takes us to a break. We'll be right back after this message from your friends at Phillips 66. Leads Baylor 77-38, 7.5 minutes remaining in this one. The Baylor Bears, this has kind of been a season of, well, what might have been. Of course, the well-documented tragedies that took place in the offseason, but had they been able to keep the bulk of that team together, you have Harvey Thomas, Terrence Thomas, both averaging 16 points, and on the floor for Baylor today, the Lawrence Roberts, Kenny Taylor, and John Lucas, three of the best players in the country.
Well, Bill, you talk about 3 guys that are important parts of new teams. Mississippi State just 1 loss so far this year. Kenny Taylor, an important player coming off the bench for Texas. We've seen this afternoon. It's been like this all season here in Stillwater, what John Lucas has done for the Cowboys. All 3 of those guys are playing on teams that are not only going to go to the NCAA tournament, probably going to go a long ways into that NCAA tournament, and they're important parts of a very good basketball team. So, yeah, things were starting to roll pretty good at Baylor with the talent that they had on the team, but now a new regime, a new guy heading it up. Well, I don't know that you can come into a job that's been more difficult with what Scott Drew has taken on, and he's enthusiastic about that opportunity. A young coach
who has recruiting ties all over the country. Tanava Witherspoon with a dandy drive to the lane. He's had a couple of tough shots that he's made in this ball game, and again, everybody has been in on the act for Oklahoma State. Witherspoon has 7 points, 2 better than his season average of 5.
Witherspoon would have been the starting point guard for Oklahoma State had John Lucas not elected to leave Baylor and come to this program. Still a lot of quickness and athletic ability out there with Witherspoon, but now plays as a backup.
For Terrence Thomas, that long-range 3, his first 3-pointer of the day, he now has 11 points in the contest. John Lucas isn't on the floor right now, but certainly the way he has played consistently throughout the year. Had an off day in Lubbock, a game that Oklahoma State lost, one of only 2 losses. A good pass ahead to Harvey Thomas, who flies in with a dunk. But John Lucas, the way he has played and the way this team has played and performed to be at the top of the league standings, it is not a stretch to say that perhaps he is the front runner for Conference Player of the Year honors, although Andre Emmett has certainly had a terrific season for Texas Tech.
Well, Andre Emmett got off to a great start. Texas Tech got off to a great start. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. So when you fall off the radar screen a little bit in the standings, Texas Tech still believe is going to be there at the end. A lot of times that MVP in the league is going to go to the team that wins the league. And certainly that would help, say, John Lucas, who's in great shape right now.
And he comes onto the floor here, replacing Witherspoon. Phillips 66 is proud to be the presenting sponsor of Big 12 basketball. Be sure to stop by your local Phillips 66 station and fill up with quality Pro Clean gasoline, only from Phillips 66, the performance brand. So a lot of substituting going on for Oklahoma State with a 79-45 lead. This is Terrence Thomas to the baseline, puts up the finger roll and gets that one to fall.
That's
Nice
that's terrific possession by Baylor. Kept their spacing, moved the ball around, put the football on the floor. When you spread the offense as much as they do, the defenders have so much ground to cover. Opens up driving opportunities.
Joey Graham with a pull-up jumper. That's good.
The game coming free and easy to both teams right now. Outcome has been decided.
Joey Graham has 12 points in the game. Also on the floor for Oklahoma State is David Mons, the 6'7" freshman from Macon, Georgia. He wears 32, his first appearance of the day.
He gave them productive minutes early in the season. Hasn't played all that much recently. Averages about 8 minutes per ball game.
10 seconds to shoot for Baylor in this possession. Matt Saman in the corner. Cross-court pass. Thomas left alone. Got it.
Pretty solid his last 2 times down. One on the dribble drive. He's got a nice little move to create a shot, finishes at the rim, and then steps out and hits a three-pointer.
Third in the conference in scoring, and Terrence Thomas right now is at his season average of 16 points a game. Nice catch by McFarlin, and he puts it in. McFarlin now has 14. He and Tony Allen with 14 to lead the Cowboys. Lucas right behind with 13.
Oklahoma State has been very businesslike in their performance here this afternoon.
Harvey Thomas missed, and Stephen Graham comes away with the rebound. 3.5 minutes to play in Stillwater. Joey Graham with the jumper. Back iron, no good. Thomas has the rebound. Leaves it for Saman. One-on-one with Mons. He gets a block shot out of the deal. Turnaround, no good. Harvey Thomas gets the rebound, puts it in off the glass.
Well, you know, we're talking about players and teams and what could or might happen over the next few weeks. The bottom line is there's still so much basketball left. Everybody playing their 9th or 10th game this weekend in conference play. So you're talking about a full half a dozen games left. That's better than a third of the season.
Timeout taken by Oklahoma State. Again, Eddie Sutton is trying to keep his team focused. Can't blame him for getting a little disinterested with that big lead. Time now to salute our Cooper Tire Defensive Player of the Game. And Tony Allen's had a pretty good day to go with those 14 points, 5 rebounds, couple of steals, and a block shot.
Oklahoma State took charge in this ballgame early on, and a lot of it had to do with their defense. The way they stepped out on the floor, got in passing lanes, created steal opportunities. In fact, through the first 10 minutes of the ballgame, Baylor had 6 turnovers. 5 of those were steals that led to transition baskets for Oklahoma State. And that's where they build their team, is on the defensive end. It's always been that way for Eddie Sutton's clubs.
Yeah, that dunk was very early on in the ballgame. 83-51. Oklahoma State with the lead. You were talking about how things are shaping up with some of the teams. The other team that's in first place is Texas, and they seem to be getting a handle on Iowa State in Ames. They've got a date with Texas A&M or during the midweek. The schedule gets kind of tough for Rick Barnes and the Longhorns. They've got a date at Oklahoma, Kansas at home, Texas Tech, and then the big meeting with these Oklahoma State Cowboys coming up on March the 1st. So
we're talking about
they're going to earn it if they're going to win it.
Yeah, you're talking half a dozen games left, and you mentioned that what looks to be their 4 toughest.
Terrence Crawford beats the buzzer and gets the basket, and in the open floor, Stephen Graham fouls Carl Marshall. For Oklahoma State, the Cowboys, we've talked about the Bedlam game on Monday at Oklahoma. They play Nebraska then next weekend here in Stillwater. The Cowboys have 6 games remaining, 3 at home, 3 on the road. And they have Texas right here at Gallagher-Iba. This place was rocking on Monday night for Kansas. I'm guessing they might have that same kind of energy when the Longhorns come to town.
Yeah, they do have that energy here, and that was quite a ball game on this floor last year. Of course, early in the season, Oklahoma State was the story in the Big 12 of season. They got off to a 6-0 start, but finished 10-6. In fact, they've got 3 consecutive 10-6 finishes in the league play. They're obviously hoping to raise the bar a little bit on that this year.
Carl Marshall at the line, makes the first. Now, sometimes, you know, the predictions don't always turn out to be true. And the forecast heading into the season, Oklahoma State preseason number 5 in the conference. Cowboys right now sit atop the conference standings. And with that make, we've got a timeout. Baylor's played hard in their second half, but the mountain that Eddie Sutton and company put together just too tough to climb for the Bears in the second half.
And split.
Well, so much for Texas getting control of things in Ames. The Cyclones are battling back, and we'll let you know that if there's still time remaining in that contest, when this one comes to an end, we will get you to Ames, Iowa as soon as possible to get you what is shaping up to be a fantastic finish.
Maybe Hilton magic overrides bench depth. I know that you don't want to come down late in a close ball game playing on the road at Hilton Coliseum. There is something real about Hilton magic.
It's an electric atmosphere, and you know, this building too, when you walk in and Kansas is here, Texas, Oklahoma, it is something that you can sense very tangibly. It is a huge home court advantage. There are some great arenas like that in this league. Of course, Frog Allen and Lawrence, Gallagher, Iba. And the first of 2 foul shots is missed. Hey, Kansas City hosts first and second round NCAA tournament action again this March. Thanks to the pod seating system, you can expect an area team to play in KC. To get tickets to the game on March 19th and 21st, go to www.big12sports.com or contact the Kemper Arena ticket office. Will Allen with the basketball for Baylor, coming up on 2 minutes remaining. Harvey Thomas forces up a long-range 3 and drills it.
Has not had a lot of success from long range this year, but everybody in this league knows that he is a good shooter. Feel that he'll have a better shooting campaign next year. There's 24% coming into play today, but when you can launch one like that, the deep 3 under pressure, you know you're a good shooter.
Marshall now has 13 points in the game and pokes that away from Mons. Inside, a minute and a half remaining in the contest. Inside 10 seconds to shoot. Witherspoon down the lane, and he's fouled hard by Harvey Thomas. And that'll send Janaba to the foul line.
Witherspoon is the smallest player on the floor. He's also their best vertical leaper. Saw a game earlier this year. They used him on the backside of the zone and threw the high lob. He went up and got it and finished it.
Very quick, great athlete. Janaba Witherspoon, a senior from Camden, Delaware. And he makes the first of 2. I'm trying to remember the great Big 12 players over the years from the state of Delaware, and the list is pretty short, Paul.
Well, it's a small state.
In fact, I might go into the Big 8 and Big 6 directories. .30-point ball game, Oklahoma State with the lead. Cowboys 18-2 for the second consecutive year. And Will Allen's pass to Harvey Thomas goes out of bounds. Last touch by Baylor. It's Oklahoma State basketball. The Cowboys a minute 19 away from their 9th consecutive win. 12-0 here at home this season.
What a great time of the year to go into a nice long winning streak just as you come into conference play. You mentioned they stubbed their toe the first weekend of the year out in Lubbock. No problem since then.
The only other team to beat Oklahoma State this year was BYU, and that game was a road game. Jason Miller, good catch inside, working hard, puts it off the glass, no good. Mons has the rebound, and he's fouled hard.
Well, there you see the Oklahoma State game. I mentioned earlier they always commit 3 players to the offensive glass. Miller setting up for that shot, had 2 teammates working for position opposite side of the basket. Mons, one of those players.
And David Mons will go to the foul line, and back into the Baylor lineup is Robbie McKenzie, the junior from Gainesville, Texas. Baylor 7-15 coming into this ball game, 2-7 in conference play. Their victories over Iowa State and Texas A&M. A reminder that the Phillips 66 women's basketball tournament is March 9th through the 13th at Reunion Arena in Dallas. On those dates, plan to see both the men's tournament at American Airlines Center as well as the women's tournament. Brought to you by Phillips 66, longtime supporter of Big 12 men's and women's basketball.
Big 12 women well represented in the top 25 and balloting in the country.
And a foul in the backcourt on Witherspoon. So the final minute or so has turned into a foul shooting contest. There's Scott Drew. We're talking about him building this program. He is known and has been known, despite his young age, as one of the top recruiters, not just in this country, but in the world. And He's brought in a player, or will be bringing in a player from Australia next year that they're very high on. And Mamadou Diané, a 7-footer from Africa, who many would regard as one of the top 100 high school players in the country if this were his address. So
when he was at Valparaiso, they did a great job of recruiting internationally. And Valparaiso always had a 7-footer on the roster and usually a 6'11" guy coming off the bench. So he's had success not only recruiting but also training the taller players. So I'm sure what he had done at Valparaiso, folks in Waco will see him do again in their city.
Jason Miller trapped and then fouled with 22.5 seconds remaining in the game. The Cowboys today have done it the way they have done, well, put together so many of their other wins. 61% from the floor. And what's really amazing about that 61% figure is that's not the best they've done so far in this season. They've got a 64% game earlier this year and a 63% shooting performance as well. 61% will win you a lot of ball games against a lot of teams.
Well, the other thing that they have is consistency. They don't have many off nights, and the reason they don't have many bad shooting nights is because they play within their system. Shot selection is always the most important offensive thing for Eddie Sutton's team.
Baylor shot the ball much better in the second half, 15 of 26 after just 15% shooting in the first half. 15 seconds from the end of this one. It's been over for a while. Baylor got the first 2 points in the game. Oklahoma State came back, got the lead, and they have led throughout and dominated en route to win number 19 on the year. Oklahoma State will improve to 19-2. Baylor falls to 7-15, and the Cowboys look ahead to a big date on Monday night against Oklahoma. The Cowboys beat the Bears 91-58 in Stillwater. Time now to send it back to Studio 66. Doug Bell and Chris Piper.
Bill, thank you. Oklahoma State, an easy win today, getting ready for Monday. That game against Oklahoma when they knock heads in that one. Texas, though, their game has yet to be decided, so we're not sure whether Oklahoma State will be in first by themselves or not.
You know, a tough game today for Oklahoma State because they really had this game in control. 3 minutes goes in, and they're blowing Baylor out. So, you know, it's tough for a team like that to be able to remain and stay focused on Baylor, especially in the second half. And Oklahoma State obviously looking ahead a little bit to the Bedlam Series matchup they got coming up pretty quick.
Let's take a look now at Texas and Iowa State right now. It's 77-76, a minute 14 to play in Ames. Texas went ahead on 2 free throws, and now Iowa State will have the basketball when we come back. Iowa State plays so much better at home than they do on the road. This is really not a surprise.
Is it unbelievable the difference for Iowa State home and on the road? I mean, it is just amazing what they have done. Iowa State, you know, they're coming off a game they were crushed at Kansas State, and Texas struck